You're watching The DM with celeb stylist Audrey, Brianne, and fashion stylist. You're watching The DM with celeb stylist Audrey, Brianne, and fashion publicist Tyree Robinson. We're in season 3 of our podcast where we review the best in costume design in film and television.
We'll now feature costume designers and celeb stylists on our live show from room service in Beverly Center. We hope you enjoy the show. We're thrilled to have celeb stylist Wright, who's known for red carpet, editorial. She's a fashion blogger. Would you like to start and let our listeners know a little bit more about yourself and how you got your start?
Yes, so I'm actually from Kentucky, which is kind of a weird way to get here, but I studied marketing in college and moved out here for a year while I was in college. And while I was here, I did a tour of FIDM. And I was like, ooh, maybe I'll come here when I finish school. I had like a year left. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to be in styling, but I thought FIDM looked cool. Yeah. So I actually went back to Kentucky. I was at school at Louisville, finished, and then I somehow ended up in law school. And I was there for a semester, and I was like, this is not my jam. Yeah. So then I moved back to LA a couple months later and started at FIDM, and I studied product development and still didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a buyer, and while I was there, I interned at E, and I met a girl that was interning for Cher Coulter, and she got me an internship with Cher Coulter, and it just kind of spiraled from there.
Amazing. Those are some big names.
Yeah.
So being in lifestyle styling, is it different than red carpet or editorial or being on television?
So lifestyle, I kind of feel like that's my background. So it's like elevating looks that are fun, that you would wear every day. Not quite as like avant-garde or crazy as editorial is.
What's one of your favorite collaborations that you've been a part of?
I would say, and you know, as a stylist, it's like sometimes they just like throw a mood board at you and you're just like, okay. But I've worked a lot with bands, and I worked with Magic while they were promoting that song Rude.
Nice.
It was like the big song of the summer.
Yeah.
I worked really closely with the lead singer and trying to get their aesthetic, and I remember one day he called me and he was like, we're performing at Dick Clark in 2 weeks and we want to wear matching suits. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yellow suits. I'm like, okay, cool, 2 weeks.
Of course,
well,
yellow
this would be
suits.
great, yeah. So I called a designer and I was like, do you think that like you could make yellow suits? It was like really cool to see that like come to life, and New Year's Eve I'd never done anything like that. And then that was kind of their aesthetic for like a few more big performances, is like, let's do these matching like looks. So that was fun because it was like seeing it on like TV, like Taylor Swift was there, and it was cool.
So how is the industry different like now from when you first started out?
Yeah, I think social media has completely changed it, because when I started, when I was an intern or assistant, it was all, when you were requesting looks from publicists, it was all about what red carpet are they going on? Like, is this getting credited in a good way? Like, you know, what magazine is it? Paparazzi, it was all of that. And now it's, what are they going to tag? Well, they need to tag this, and they need to do it like this. And I'm just like, and as a stylist, it's like sometimes you're working with people you don't know for the first time, and I'm like, I don't know if they're going to post it to Instagram, but they're going to walk the carpet. Isn't that good enough? Yeah. So it's just been like, social media has just completely changed everything.
Isn't that wild?
It's
that, like,
crazy.
Do you like that it's changed like that? Like,
no, I don't control their social media.
Yeah.
And you know, so many of them are getting paid to post and tag, so it's kind of like an awkward situation for everybody. And I know the publicists, some of them don't get credit with the designers that they work with if it's not tagged, so it's just complicated, the situation, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of messy.
Do you feel like you personally have to ask them to tag it, or that's...
Yes, I actually do.
You're like, say this brand. Yeah,
and sometimes, especially when it's like clients you do work more closely with, if they don't do it, the publicist is like, hey, and so then I have to at E a lot I would do that because I was working with them every day, so I'd have to be like, you gotta tag that picture, like, can you post this photo? And it just gets everything like spider webby.
Yeah. What would you tell someone aspiring to be a stylist?
I think it's one of those jobs where it really is, you like start at the bottom. It's not glamorous. You really do have to start as an intern and you have to learn it. You know, you can't you don't go and get a degree and then get a job.
Right.
So it's like you have to be ready to do like the Starbucks runs and the returns. And I still do returns. I have like a ton of them in my car.
Yeah.
Like, so
I've always said with my team that I'm not asking you to do anything that I either haven't already done myself or that I wouldn't do if I was in your position.
Yeah. I remember even like as an assistant, I would the first one there, the last one to leave.
Yep.
I would come if my boss was like not out of bed. I came with coffee bean, and I'm like, get up, woman! Like we've got like work to do. He's like, so it's like you have to. And on every shoot, you're the first one there. You're counting in jewelry at the end while the photographer's packing up.
Yeah. The packing is really tough, and you, like the inventory of it all is
jewelry.
And then add on that we're invoicing, so just like numbers are flying around, like.
Taping the bottom of shoes.
Oh, I get so much anxiety because one time I taped the bottom of shoes. When I took the tape off, it like pulled the color off, and I was like, oh, you could see all the tape marks, and they were like a pair of like $600 shoes, and I'm like, I'm like,
so
what is gonna happen? This job just cost me. They're not even my size. I can't wear them.
Yeah, so you have to be really on your toes and just like ready to do anything, like jump in with it to be in this industry.
And I feel like too, like when we're doing shoots, I'm like constantly like, where's that? Oh, she just took that bracelet. Because sometimes the photographer will be like, can you lose the bracelet? And they just like set it down, and I'm like, okay. I was like, we need to talk about where that's going.
Yeah.
We all went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Yeah.
I too wanted to be a buyer and then like went left.
Yeah.
What are some things that you learned there that you will take with you for the rest of your life?
Coming from having been in marketing, which is like very book stuff, but it was like so hands-on. And I think that's kind of what got me into like wanting to do something more hands-on. There would be like a lot of people there right out of college, right? And they're like, oh my God, like we have so much homework. I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like, I was in like economics last semester. Like this is a good, so I think it kind of like started pushing me towards styling. And then the girl that got me an internship with Cher, which I feel like is like what really kind of got my foot in the door.
So being like a blogger, that comes with a little bit of writing. Like, how do you like that? Like the writing portion of being a blogger.
I love to write. I would always like find fun things to write about. Like one of my big projects in college, I wrote about Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, and then I turned like a speech class into a Sex and the City wardrobe talk.
Nice.
So I actually think that's what made me want to do some blogging, is just to start writing again. And it did get me, I wrote for Racked LA for probably like 4 or 5 years before they closed all the locations. So I actually really like writing. To me, it kind of balances out the craziness of being a stylist.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know you're a Kentucky girl. Do people there understand what you do, or like do you still have to explain it? Like
nobody understands what I do. Like my father sometimes is even like, why does somebody need help like tying their shoes or like doing this? I'm like, thank God they do, or I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
But most people that that I meet or that know me from there, I think they think I'm a designer.
Yep.
Because they're always like, so like, what are you working on? Like, what are you designing? And I'm like, no, I don't design the clothes. I just like pick them out. And they're just like, is it stuff though that like you design?
No, the design is not part of it.
Stuff from Bloomingdale's. So when they do, they're like, they think it's like the coolest thing.
Things.
What are some of the rewards and the challenges of doing network television styling?
So you guys would probably both know, you for sure, because you do PR, like it's not as easy to get clothes as you would think. Like requesting from publicists. We do a lot of shopping, but as a stylist, like the PR firms have the next stuff that you can't just go into a store and get. And of course that's what your clients want to wear. That's what you want to put them in because it's fun. You're touching it for the first time. Actually, social media did up that up a little bit because the girls would be like, well, I'll post and tag it if it will get me like better stuff. So that helps actually in that regards, because normally the credits were just like rolling and people don't really pay attention to that. Yeah. So that was like the biggest challenge. But the reward was like just having like a steady like job every day. Yeah. Like going into it. And I loved working award season when I was there.
Oh, I
like
bet.
that was my favorite. I had like 3 clients every award show, and it was like June through February till sometimes March.
Yeah.
That was like all I was doing, but I loved it.
But the access to all the designers and gowns,
Yeah.
like that was probably just like a buffet of
Yeah.
like beautiful.
It was, I can just
pieces.
remember being like carrying those bags and like, shaking because the gowns were so heavy.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference of network TV versus like lifestyle?
I like being a little more freelance and doing that because it does get monotonous.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I like being able to do a little here. I still work in TV some. It's just, it's not as, E-News was a little more fashion forward. This is more that I've been doing, like kind of working with like contestants and like game
Yeah.
shows and doing things like that. So it's a different type
Yeah.
of TV. I like network TV, but what I'm doing now, and it's a little more exciting because things change day to day.
I'm just a little curious. When you're styling yourself, is it really like, do you come at it from a different angle than when you're styling like a client?
100%.
Yeah.
Like I'm lucky if my hair is brushed and I have on like a bra.
Yeah.
So, but when I do go out, I don't shop for myself anymore. Where I get like most of my clothes is when I'm like out pulling for people and I'm
Yep.
like, ooh, I like that. Like I'll get that or whatever. I'm typically in like black jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's just easy. Black is just so simple.
It's so much easier. My clients, I'm like, no, you wear this sock,
Yeah.
wear this shoe, like this and that. And for me, I'm just like, I brushed my teeth.
Yeah, I did my best.
Yeah.
I woke up.
Yeah.
The DM is hosted in partnership with Room Service at Beverly Center, LA's premier shopping and lifestyle destination in the heart of the city. Room Service is a first of its kind private members club designed to elevate the shopping and dining experience for LA's influential creators, VIPs, stylists, and costume designers.
Membership includes complimentary valet and self-parking at Beverly Center, access to a unique and stylish member lounge, private conference and fitting rooms, and complimentary amenities such as steamers, rolling racks, snacks, and beverages.
To learn more about Room Service membership, follow us on Instagram and click the link in the bio, or visit www.beverlycenter.com.
So that wraps up the end of our interview with Miss Kat Wright. Thank you so much for your time. But we are not yet finished. We want to go over some of your top 5 red carpet looks that Tyree and I had kind of picked out and talk a little bit about them.
Our first look, we're starting with Gigi Gorgeous. She is at the GLAAD Awards. Take me through this look. Like, how did you pick it out? Like,
So
what do you like about it?
we had a fitting for like a bunch of stuff that day. I think we had to get through like 7 looks or something, and this was like the one big red carpet. And that was the last dress she tried on. The first, she was gonna wear this big ball gown, and we had that one, and we were like, well, just like put it on and let's just try it.
Yeah.
And she put that on, and everybody was like, oh my God, it just looked beautiful on her.
Gorgeous.
It's Giovanni. That was honestly one of my favorite looks because I did several red carpets with her.
And she looks so good against the step and repeat. That's
Yeah.
always so nice when your client like is kind of like matching with that
Yeah.
unexpectedly, but like nicely so.
And her hair and makeup team always kills it.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, it's like for them, it's like they see the dress first and
Yeah.
then they kind of go off that. And I like loved that look.
Before we move on, we're both a sucker for tailoring. Did you work with a tailor, or like how did this fit?
Yes, we had to put some lining in that.
Okay.
And I think that was mostly what we did. We might have taken up the hem a little bit, but I mean, I zipped that up on her and it fit pretty much like a glove.
So the next look is Zuri Hall, and she is at the Oscars. Can you tell us about this stunning gown?
I loved that look on her. I worked with Zuri at E, so we did a ton of red carpets together and several
Yeah.
Oscars. We had to do a little more alterations on that, but again, it was placement of, because you couldn't put like a bra or like any kind of undergarment
Yeah.
on that, so it was getting like placement in the right spots with the petals, and so that nothing would show, but it also still having to keep the colors right.
Yeah.
So you didn't want to do anything that looked like you put lining in it.
Yeah.
How heavy was this?
It wasn't that heavy. It,
Okay.
it was very delicate though, because the heaviness was at the bottom and the top was all sheer, so you couldn't pull on it. And that's like one of those dresses when it's sheer like that, if it gets even any kind of a hole in it, it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's there forever.
Okay, the
We got her
next
again.
one is Zuri Hall again at the Oscars.
This one was actually very interesting because that dress came in, I think, 2 other colors. I think when we did our SAG fitting, we had that. And like 3 days before the Oscars, the publicist called and told us that they gave it to somebody else in a different color. And that they were also wearing it.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, that's like...
All the gowns are like gone at that point.
Well, and you're like starting over. I mean, I remember I was like at an appointment to pull jewels when they called me, and I was like, what?
You're like, I'm styling this look. Like,
and it was, before I did anything, I called Zuri, and I love her, because she was like, well, we were gonna wear it first. I'm not changing. Like, we'll just do it. We'll just do it better. And then, yeah, Zuri looks good in everything. But I just like loved her attitude about that, because anybody else would have probably been like,
I need a new
well,
dress.
get me a new dress. And I was just, it was like Thursday or Friday, and the Oscars were Sunday, and I was just like.
That's nice that she was calm about it, because I'm sure for you that phone call was just like heart stopping.
I can like still like feel the pinch in my gut.
I have a question in regards to color. Are you ever nervous about like it matching the step and repeat?
No.
Okay.
It's a red carpet, so it's sometimes if it's like an orange carpet or blue,
Purple.
you think about it, or I think about it more. But red, it was like she kind of was into wearing a red dress, and luckily it worked.
Very cute. We've got Miss Zuri Hall again. We like her very much.
I do
This
too.
is her though. We chose this because this is Met Gala, so we have to talk about just how that was.
Yes, she had a very specific look that she wanted when she was like describing it to me. And when I went into that's Stello, and I went into Stello's showroom and saw that, and I liked that it was not just like a gown. It was kind of different layers, and I don't think you can really tell, but it had kind of like a wiring. It was like different fabrics and stuff, and I just liked the silhouette of it. So that was kind of like spot on what she had asked for. Yeah. Zuri's like very good, because if she sees something she likes, Gigi's like that too. It's like, okay, we're good. Like, we don't, like, some people just want to try the whole rack on, but they're just like, if they're like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
so.
That's so nice having like clients like that.
Yeah.
And I was noticing, so it's high-low. That was probably so nice for those stairs for her, not being worried about tripping.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times on red carpets, you never see the shoes. Yeah. So it was nice to have be able to see
like
the shoes.
Front and center.
Yeah. And I didn't go to New York with her, so that's kind of like nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Because you want to be there at such like a big event to zip them up and make sure like everything's okay.
How did that work, you packing it, and especially the jewels, like getting all of that to New York, and you weren't there?
She took that with her.
Oh, okay.
They had like a team out there that helped get them ready.
Speaking of the Billboard Awards, Sibley Skulls.
Sibley Skulls. Yes. I worked with her for a few years at E2. I adore Sibley. Like, her style is so fun. So that was the last red carpet I did at E. I went to Vegas with her. That was my last week, and I went freelance after that. But this dress, it was like, it was the hood that sold us. Because she always like wants to do things outside of the box, and it was like kind of like trying to balance her and being outside the box with network. When I first started there, it was like just send them out, and then it got to a point where everything had to get approved, but especially like live red carpets. So we were like, I think on camera she had the hood down, but she put it up for the carpet. And she is just like so fun to work with. So
I remember this look everywhere. It was on a lot of best dress lists. Like, congrats to you, because like I definitely like that was a standout for this award show.
And the accessories, like the rings, like that's the only thing.
She had a after party afterwards, and it's like, E doesn't ask you to dress them for that, but it was Sibley. I'm like, oh, we put her in like this 2-piece like green number with like lime shoes, like chartreuse shoes, and it was like she's just so fun. Like, she's like the client that you want.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kat, for joining us today on the DM with Audrey, Brianne, and Tyree, and we are in room service at Beverly Center. You can follow Kat on social media at Kat Wright Style, and visit her website.
And we will have links in the description box for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us in another episode.
Bye.
Bye.